Let's get to it. I don't want to do it, but we're going to do it because that's how you progress. Tapping when you don't want to do the thing. Doing things even when you don't want to do them. Inspired by the events of this morning, getting up sometimes just feeling like, oh, I don't want to do that. If you don't do the thing, there's going to be negative consequences, and you really want to avoid those negative consequences, but a part of you is just not quite on board with what it is that's going on. It's like you're trying to pull an animal on a leash that's just being very resistant. Often we'll try to use force in these situations and force ourselves to do something. If time is of the essence, then it can be very useful to use that kind of a force sometimes and then connect with it a little bit later. However, there is a lot to be said for where you can using connection before correction. So instead of one thing pulling one way, the other thing pulling the other way, you're actually connecting with that thing and helping it settle, helping it find what it needs, so then it can help pull you in the direction that you're going in. So we're going to look at a few of these ideas today around tapping on doing the thing. We'll see if we can't find some solutions there. Hand on the belly, hand on the chest. Notice what you're bringing today. Notice where you are. Notice what the quality of your thoughts are like at the moment. Are you shut down? Are you sad? Are you angry? Are you frustrated? Agitated? Are you anxious? Do you feel worried? Do you feel fear? Do you feel guilty or ashamed? Like what's present, what's presenting itself through the body this morning or afternoon or whenever? Just take a moment to check in with that. Not make it wrong, but really drop fully into it. And as you do that, you might start to notice the breathing change a little bit. Feel free to let your body go a little bit loose. So you might see sometimes that I will just start to move around a little bit, kind of rock and sway back and forth. And you can see in extreme circumstances, this is what people do when they're rocking back and forth in, say, mental institutions. This is the body's way of self-regulating. I'm big on things like Vipassana meditation. That's really been life-changing for me. But I would also say that embodiment and the moving and giving your experience a body, letting your body and express itself is also huge. Developing range between that ability to be still and ability to move and flow with what's going on. Like we're looking after the animal of the body, we'll just let it move gently. We're not trying to clamp down on it and tighten up on it. Actually the opposite, we're trying to let it move and help it to express itself in ways that it needs to. So already I can start to feel myself coming down from that response, that kind of tension, body tension, as I start to connect with what's here, what's going on. And when I say connect, it's really just bringing your attention to the parts of the body, so focusing your awareness on there and letting it be there without trying to push it away, but actually just allowing it to be where it is and relaxing as deeply as possible. So working on relaxing the muscles whilst focusing your awareness on these specific areas. And so as you start to notice the sensations happening within the body, there might be certain sensations up around the chest, collarbone, below the solar plexus, maybe down in the legs, the feet. Something that can also be useful is to start to notice the space around the body. So the space that's the body's contained within. Oftentimes that can really help to relax your sense of, oh, I need to keep this feeling contained within the body It's like you have all this space around you. And even just the idea of that can help people sometimes let their emotions get a little bit looser, so they're not wound up so tight. And when they're loose, they can move, and when they can move, they can flow. When they can flow, they can be on their way. So that's what we're aiming for, just to slow it down. Even in that place of shutdown. So I woke up this morning, I was feeling a bit shut down. And the somewhat conventional approach might be to, okay, force myself out, get myself moving. That can be really useful if time is of the essence, but what I find delivers me in a deeper way is to slow it right down, to actually meet that shutdown where it's at. And if my breath is shallow, I make it even shallower. And as I do that, it starts to want to breathe naturally on its own. You're going in the same direction that the body's already at. It's like a martial arts principle, or rolling with the punches. You're going with the energy and redirecting it. So first, if you're shut down, get very quiet, get very settled, see if you can get beneath that energy with the breath, with the body, very soft, slow movements. Until the body might naturally want to take a breath by itself. I don't want to do the thing. I don't want to do this thing. I really don't want to do it. I really don't want to do this thing. It feels like so much effort. I just don't want to do it today. Part of my brain might be saying that, well, you have to do it. And then as I get told what I have to do, the other part of me digs in even deeper. Because I wonder if that's really true. I wonder if I really have to do anything. There are some things that it feels like I have to do. But in reality, I'm always making a choice. I don't have to do that thing. It's just that I want to avoid the consequences of not doing that thing. So it's really the fear of consequences. The fear of what if I don't do that thing. Maybe it would undermine my integrity. Maybe it would undermine my commitment. And what happens when I undermine my commitment? It doesn't feel so great. And sometimes it might be the right thing to do. take a day off. To go back on my word. I have to be able to be that flexible. And take that pain. Because sometimes I might overcommit. And it's really difficult for me to stick with it. When I break the commitment, that's when I fail. And so I have to deal with all of that pain and shame. That often comes with failure. But I'd like to be willing to not judge myself too harshly. I'd like to be willing to show up and do my best. And I'd like to be willing to offer myself understanding. If sometimes I can't do what I said I was going to do. Because shame's not a great motivator. Not in the long term anyway. It might work great in the short term. Shame and judgment gets things moving. But it comes at a great cost. And there are lots of consequences to cultivating it as a long-term habit. I really want to be understanding and supportive. I really want to be on my own side. Sometimes I might get frustrated with myself because I'm not doing the thing that I think I should do. I'm not doing the thing that I, quote, need to do. But really, that's just another part of me that's really, really scared. That wants the best for me. That wants me to have what I want. And wants to try to motivate me. And I would like to help this part find a different way. I'd like to connect with all that frustration. And all these attempts to bully this slow-moving part and coerce it into doing the things that my brain wants it to do. Releasing all this frustration and releasing all my emotional attachment to this frustration could seem like a good thing. And so I might be willing to do that if I knew there was a better way. I wonder what this part of me wants. The part that doesn't want to do the thing. Why is it so slow? Why is it resisting what I want? What does it need? How can I help it? And how can I motivate it properly? Without using shame and coercion. Without using anger and threats. But actually listening to it. And helping it realign with my overall cause. What can I do for it? How can I help it? And what does it need? These are all questions I'd be willing to ask. I want to approach it in a warm and loving way. I want it to feel heard and understood. Even though I might be really afraid of what it's got to say. I'm willing to connect with it. I'm willing to reach a hand down and help it up. Because I know that collaboration is a much better long-term solution. When I collaborate with all these parts of myself and everyone's cooperating, we're so much stronger together than if we're competing and fighting, pulling in opposite directions. And a good leader would include everyone, knowing at which times are the right times for different parts. Honoring and respecting each part in its own right as a valuable contributor to the overall collective. Even if those parts seem to be playing up or acting out, there is something that they need. And with the right amount of listening and support, I could probably find out what it is that they need and do my best to give it to them. Even if it's imperfect. That's okay. It's my intent that's important. And my continued willingness to listen deeply to those parts and persevere to understand them. Because they're a part of me. And I can't expect myself to cut parts of myself out and suppress and distance myself other parts of myself without there being serious long-term consequences. And so I'm in it for the long haul. I'm willing to listen. I'm willing to learn. And I'm willing to lead. Self-leadership of this community of parts and community of microorganisms, community of cells. I'm not always going to get it right, but I'm still going to try. And I'm still going to show up day after day, trying to help all of my parts feel as safe and relaxed and as open as they can possibly feel. So we can create this experience together. This is what I want. I want to cooperate with myself. I want to collaborate with myself. I want to understand myself. I don't want any of these parts to feel lonely. I don't want any of these parts to feel disconnected. Because when they do, I do. And I want connection for everybody. And so that's what I'm aiming for. And I'm willing to be at peace. All this remaining survival stress. All this remaining shutdown. All this remaining fight-flight energy. All this remaining agitation. All these remaining feelings of disgruntlement. Willing to let go of control. And be completely here. I'm willing to let them pass. Willing to listen, willing to learn, and willing to let it be. Belly and chest, inhaling. So you can notice now how you feel about that. Listening to each and all of those parts and having an expectation that each of them carries a valuable piece of the puzzle, and it's not always obvious what that is. And particularly if we've distanced ourselves from certain parts or shut them down, or we've been kind of dragging them along through the mud and being a bit tyrannical to them, then it's not straight away that they will reveal what it is that they're carrying, the message that they're carrying. But if you can start to soften towards them, that's when the connection starts to be available. When the connection starts to be available, that's when the system begins to create those bonds and pathways between parts, which helps to strengthen everything that's going on. So you're really like listening deeply to what's going on, and they might have thoughts, they might have words that they want to say, and you don't have to believe the words strictly exactly. There might be a context for them, but it's more just listening to the feeling of them and acknowledging them and making sure that they all feel heard, so that they don't have to keep knocking loudly and trying to attract your attention. And that's really key to this kind of work is making sure that things flow, making sure that things move, and everybody gets a seat at the table, and then learning how to lead that properly. Or sometimes some parts of you might need to be a little bit more assertive and take charge in certain situations, but doing so from a place of connection, knowing that you have these other parts' best interest in mind and not creating these factions and these wars between these parts. I really believe that this kind of work, this unification of self within the microcosm of you, is something that ripples outwards. And as you start to find those levels of self-acceptance and cooperation and collaboration with all these different parts of yourself, you kind of start to move towards this harmonic that really has an effect. It's like they talk about, you know, it all starts with you, and if you can get this thing cooperating with itself and be a good leader to all these parts of yourself, then the next step is to scale that outwards into social leadership and things like that, where you have a way of operating within that space where you're willing to listen to all of these different parts and also at the same time take assertive action from a place of connection rather than a place of divide and discord. So this is what really speaks to me about this kind of work. And it's work. Obviously it's work, but it is, to my mind, really, really worth it to develop this sense of, I'm looking after this little corner of the universe right here, and that can scale outwards as I start to just develop that care and love and connection, collaboration, cohesion within my being. So anyway, good luck with that project. As much as you can do these videos and just start to just integrate and weave these lines of thought together to become entrainments in your system, you're just starting to practice and rupture those cycles of discord, rupture those cycles of conflict and animosity, and where we're disconnected from our systems, and just bringing it all back together again. So hope that was useful. Hope you get to do the thing, whatever the thing is for you today. And yeah, comments, feedback, suggestions, anything like that, open to it all. Have a great one. I'll see you in the next video.